Now, come with me, everyone, to the beautiful and new thing that we are about to embark on. God willing, in this context, God willing, it is narrated from Abdullah ibn Umar that he said, someone might say to me, well, what about the ones you are going to mention? What about the healthy people? You will understand now. You will now understand how tolerance can be extended even to whom. And that tolerance is for all of God's creation, the Almighty. Pay very close attention with me. Except, of course, there are limits set by God, the Almighty. This is an exception. All right, now pay attention to what he says. A woman was punished because of a cat that she had confined. A woman was punished because of a cat, not just any cat. That's not all he said. No, she confined it and it died. She confined it and it died. She became responsible. Of course, now you might have a bird. You raise a bird at home. For example, some birds like finches, ornamental birds, or similar ones like a parrot or the like. If you keep it confined, that's fine, so you can enjoy watching it. But with the condition that you feed it, give it water, and provide it with air, make sure it has fresh air so it doesn't die. If you do that for it, then that's fine, and you bear no sin in that. But if you confine it and then withhold food and water from it, you have killed it, and you are responsible for that. That is why the narration says she was tormented. The narration uses the word tormented with a stress on the letter dal. She was tormented. It doesn't just say, as in some narrations, that a woman simply entered the fire. No, it says a woman was tormented because of a cat which she confined until it died. Look at the significance of the name here. Even the cat, yes, even the cat, my friend. The death of a single cat is still a death. No, look, he has granted dignity to every creature. Even with the weak cat, with the frail little cat. No, there is compassion. You might underestimate it and the soul within it and cause it to lose its life by God's will. Of course not. In that case, you are sinful and will be punished for it, truly deserving of punishment. That's why look at the beauty of our compassion. So you don't think it's just compassion towards Muslims. Compassion towards Muslims and towards prisoners from among the polytheists, even towards the enemies of the faith, towards everyone. This compassion exists because it is an Islamic virtue and a quality found in Islam. Pay attention among Muslims when we say here, a woman was punished because of a cat. She locked it up until it died, so she entered the fire. Of course, she was punished because she entered the fire. Pay attention, everyone, because she neither fed it nor gave it water, nor did she let it go to eat from the insects of the earth. Meaning, she neither fed it nor gave it water when she locked it up, nor did she let it go and open the way for it to go out and eat from the earth's insects and drink from anywhere to survive. She deprived it of its freedom and prevented it from food and drink, which caused its death. So she entered the fire and was punished because of it. She was punished because of it. This incident, of course, is recorded by Imam al-Bukhari in his Sahih and by Muslim in his Sahih. Now look at what comes next. So what do you think, everyone? What do you think, everyone, about this matter I'm talking about now? In the past, of course, during wars, when one tribe defeated another or one army defeated another, there would be captives, and among those captives would be women and children and so on. They used to separate mothers from their children. That is, a woman and her children would be taken, and they would separate the mother from her children. The children would be taken as captives and distributed, and the mother would be taken elsewhere, and so on. Of course, this would result in suffering. Terrible suffering for the mother. Why is that? Because it's a mother's heart, everyone. And it's well known that a mother's heart is full of mercy for her children. She was created that way and born with that instinct. There is an immense mercy for her children in her heart. So whoever separates a woman from her children commits a truly grave crime. Why? Because he deprives the woman of her children, and likewise torments the children and deprives them of their mother, especially when there is an infant involved. When there is a small child who needs his mother's care, to do this for such purposes is sheer cruelty. Now, let's talk about the tolerance and leniency found in Islam. When it came to war in Islam, it never allowed separating a mother from her children. Why is that? Because that would be an act of cruelty. A degrading cruelty and torment. Torment for those involved. Torment for the mother and torment for the children. Come with me now. Let's listen to this hadith before we hear the hadith. I am telling you that our Prophet, peace be upon him, commanded kindness towards prisoners and forbade separating a mother from her children who fall into captivity. There is an authentic, well-established hadith from our Prophet, peace be upon him, about this. Who narrated this hadith to us? Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. But before I share the hadith with you, let me tell you a story that happened with the companion who narrated it. It happened with the companion who narrated the hadith. Who is that? Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari went out with an army of Muslims to confront the enemies of Allah the Almighty. And Allah granted victory to the Muslims. And Allah gave the Muslims triumph over their enemies. Here, the supporter was an ally of the Muslims. They were victorious over the enemies of the Muslims. And then, as people were used to doing, since they didn't really understand the matter yet, just acting as usual when these people fell captive to the Muslims or into the Muslims' hands, they separated the mothers from their children. Of course, the children kept crying and screaming, and the women were crying and screaming too. So there was a lot of wailing because mercy is needed in such situations. Look at what happened here. What happened exactly was that when they were separated, the crying only increased. Then Abu Ayyub al-Ansari came back and returned every child to their mother. If this boy had a mother, he would be returned to her. This group of children, if they had a mother, they would be returned to her. If this woman had lost 3 children, they would be returned to her. If she had lost 1, he would be returned to her, and so on, until all the children were returned to their mothers. Look everyone, this is the leader, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Why? Because he was the one who went out with the army, and by the will of Allah the Almighty was victorious. And he heard the hadith from our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. So he returned the children to their mothers. Look at what he said. He said that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whoever separates a mother from her child, Allah will separate him from his loved ones on the Day of Judgment. Whoever separates a mother from her child, Allah will separate him from his loved ones on the Day of Judgment. Meaning, I follow the commands of our Prophet. For this reason, I am carrying out the orders of our Prophet. And what are the orders of our Prophet? Except compassion, and mercy towards these people. That is why, by the will of Allah, the matter was resolved and the children were returned to their mothers. This is part of the compassion of Islam.